10 years ago, when we start discussing about nutrition, we always talk about balanced diet and dietary diversity. Recently, there is some update in this concept. Experts from UNICEF, WHO, FAO, mention about healthy diet, more often than balanced diet. Let's look at the difference and why we use this terminology. What is an essence of dietary guidance? Before moving to the definition, let me explain about core concept of toxicology. This is not directly related with nutrition discussion, but we can make some analogy when discussing about dietary balance. It says all things are poisons, for there is nothing without poisonous qualities. It is only the dose which makes a thing poison. For example, botulinus is known to produce one of the most strong toxin from the nature. But when we control the dose of this toxin carefully, we use it as medicine. Another example, nowadays we generally understand that fat and oil is unhealthy type of food. Salt as well. But please consider what happen if we consume oil, fat or salt too little. The point is, for almost all the food item we consume, there is a certain range of intake which respective food item can function well for human health. We will face malnutrition risk when we consume certain food group too much, or too little. To understand appropriate range of food intake, let's look at several key food group, its role in human health and potential negative impact. First food group is staple. It is key source of energy, and dietary fiber from staple is known to reduce mortality risk. As a negative aspect, it is reported that if carbohydrate intake exceeds 60% of total energy, it will increase mortality risk. As mentioned in the previous slide, protein is an important constituent element of human body. It can be sourced either from plant or animal products. Different type of protein source have different health impact as shown in the table. In addition, this impact could be different by geographic location, due to probably difference in current level of consumption. In case of meat, it shows significant positive impact to mortality in Europe and USA, while opposite result was found in Asian countries. Dairy products are believed as quality protein source despite scientific evidence is limited. Plant-based protein is a good alternative to red meat, which shows significant positive impact on mortality in Western countries. However, plant-based protein have different amino acid composition with animal-based. This may limit the impact of plant-based protein to some extent. Fat is one of essential macronutrient which have several key function, such as energy storage, support cell growth, protect organ. Reduction of total fat does not necessarily provide a good health outcome, however reduction of saturated fat is significantly associated with cardiovascular disease risk. I believe this is main risk factor of red meat, which contain high amount of saturated fat. This table shows different type of fat, its main source, and its health impact. Saturated fat is known to have risk factor of heart disease, and is high content in red meat, cheese, and coconut oil. Trans fat fatty acid, which is contained in margarine, also increase risk of heart disease. Those type of fatty acid is recommended to be replaced by unsaturated fat. For example, olive oil, canola oil contain monounsaturated fat, nuts, sunflower and maize oil contain polyunsaturated fat. And finally, fish-based products contain special type of polyunsaturated, called omega-3 oil, which cannot be generated inside human body, and known to have different health benefits. Now we are going to confirm role of key micronutrients commonly deficit in many African countries. Iron. Iron deficiency is a primary cause of anemia and can result in cognitive impairment, decreased work productivity, and death. Zinc. Zinc deficiency in children is associated with poor health, increased risk of diarrhea, and impaired cognitive and motor development. Vitamin A. Vitamin A deficiency has severe consequences. even with mild deficiency, including night blindness, increased susceptibility to infections, and death. Other than these items, iodine deficiency, vitamin D deficiency are also observed in many countries. Now we understand that every food group has certain range of recommended intake. Then what we should do to reflect this into dietary guideline? According to systematic review of scientific literature by a rule, there are a number of cases that improve dietary diversity through agriculture-based intervention. However, the evidence is still limited to prove if this dietary diversity improvement actually provide positive health impact. Similarly, Eric conducted another systematic review to examine relationships between dietary diversity and health impact. The finding was that association between dietary diversity and health impact is largely inconsistent. It argued that potential cause of this inconsistency is limitation of dietary diversity indicator to assess for element of diet quality, especially adequacy and moderation. Then, what should we do to provide better guidance for the people suffered from malnutrition? Based on the understanding in previous slides, now we need to have more careful way of evaluating balanced diet. It consists of 4 keywords. First word is diversity. If you consume food from variety of food source or not. Second word is balance. If your consumption from different food group is inadequate proportion or not. Third word is adequacy. If you combine different type of food group to ensure adequate nutrient balance or not. Fourth word is moderation. If you do not overconsume specific type of food or not. In the following section, I will explain status of current dietary guidance. Healthy diet was born to add quantitative aspect to conventional dietary diversity concept. Now we are going to discuss about healthy diet and how this concept is applied in dietary guidance on the ground, including FDBG, food-based dietary guideline. What is difference between balanced diet and healthy diet? In the homepage of World Health Organization, it defines healthy way of eating as eating a variety of foods and consuming less salt, sugars, saturated fat and industrially produced trans fats, are essential for healthy diet. Former part of sentence is just same as the concept of balanced diet, eating a variety of foods. This is what we have been promoting around the world. In the latter part, it states to limit or promote certain type of food with threshold value. It perfectly makes sense, since we have been talking about double burden, triple burden, and its association with NCDs during last decades. One of the major cause of NCDs come from obesity, namely over intake of certain type of food group, especially fat, sugar and salt. Dietary diversity, which is a universal indicator of balanced diet, have limitation to detect overconsumption, since it evaluate number of food group, but does not evaluate volume of food group consumed. This is why we start using healthy diet, by adding threshold value of intake of key food group, on top of conventional dietary diversity. There are a wide range of dietary recommendation we experience in our daily life. We will make use of 2 key recommendation out of them, Dietary Diversity Indicator, referred as DDI, and Food-Based Dietary Guideline, referred as FBDG. So what is DDI and FBDG? There are 2 fundamental datasets to assess and guide diet. DRI, Dietary Reference Intake, and FCT, Food Composition Table. DRI tells us required amount of daily intake of nutrients, such as protein, vitamin A, iron. FCT tells us composition of nutrients in selected food item, such as carrot, beans, or beef meat. By combining DRI and FCT, experts can provide precise guidance for improved diet. Typical use case of DRI and FTC is, by the nutritionist to design healthy meal for certain population, such as school children, hospital inpatient. But, This type of approach is applicable only by the nutrition experts. Day-to-day guidance on the ground, we use two type of tool, DDI, Dietary Diversity Indicators, and FBDG, Food-Based Dietary Guideline. FDBG tells us required amount of dairy intake of key food groups, such as egg, vegetables, dairy products. FDBG is designed for easy understanding by ordinary people, setting consumption target of food ingredient, or name of dishes, instead of unfamiliar nutrient name. FDBG is designed to satisfy DRI requirement, by combining different type of food item in a good balance. This combination is designed, based on the survey of national and local food culture. We can conclude that, food-based dietary guideline is a guideline to achieve healthy diet. Now let's look at FBDG applied in different countries. This is a case of Japan. On the right side, Japanese FBDG is presented. Food is divided into 5 key food groups, namely staples, vegetable dishes, animal-based dishes, milk and fruits. Quantitative recommendation is based on dishes, not based on ingredients, for better understanding. There is also another quantitative, handy recommendation conducted on the ground. Nutritionists use hand measurement, shown in the left side picture. Food is measured by hand, as a measurement unit. And for key food group, recommended intake is provided, based on hand measurement. In case of USA, they use plate as measurement tool for quantity. The plate is divided into 4 area, each represents different food group, grain, protein, vegetable and fruits. In addition to plate, dairy product is shown separately. Furthermore, it recommends to refrain beverages which contain high amount of sugar, saturated fat, and sodium. Food pyramid is probably the most common form of FDBG representation. Each food group is located in the pyramid, depending on the size of required amount from bottom to top. Food pyramid of Ireland is presented as an example. Food group is divided into 6 category: beverage with high amount of sugar, fat, sodium, oil and fat, protein-rich food, dairy products, grains, and vegetable and fruits. These groups are set, in accordance with recommended consumption volume, from bottom to top. The application of FDBG is gradually expanding among African countries. So far, 11 countries have published FDBG as listed in the table right side of the slide. The case of Zambia is presented in the slide. Like the other case, quantitative recommendation is made for 6 food groups. There are set of food group, to have target consumption volume, and another group to target reduction of current consumption. Zambia also introduced hand measurement, for easy application on the ground. In 2021, group of international experts published a report called Eat Lancet. In this report, based on meta-analysis of existing literature related to food, nutrition and environment, the concept of planetary health diet was proposed. Planetary health diet include guidance on daily consumption volume of key food item, to ensure healthy life, while minimize negative environmental impact. You can see orange number in the table. This number is daily recommended intake of 8 food group: 1. Whole grains, 2. Tuber of starchy vegetables, 3. Vegetables, 4. Fruits, 5. Dairy foods, 6. Protein sources, 7. Added fats, 8. Added sugars. Dietary status among countries, using FBDG as a reference. So far, we have went through the concept of healthy diet, especially 2 typical tool of food guidance, DDI and FBDG. Now let's look at the real situation. What is the gap between those recommendation, and our current dietary culture? This graph is from research paper, published by International Food Policy Research Institute. Food supply data from each country is compared with global reference FDBG, which is synthesized by author, by reviewing 10 representative countries' FDBG. Horizontal axis, all countries are sorted by GDP per capita. Vertical axis, stands for oversupply or deficient in each country group. Each graph has 6 coloring, each color stands for a different food group, as indicated in the legend. From this graph, we can understand dietary transition, in the course of economic development. By looking at each food group, from low-income country status to high-income status, we can realize that there are 4 types of commodity group. First group, oversupply during low-income status, gradually decrease supply and become deficient at high-income status. Starch food group belongs to this category. Second group, deficit at low-income status, gradually increase as income grow, and oversupply at high-income status. Animal source food and oil fats belong to this category. Third group, regardless income status, always deficit, vegetable, fruits and pulses belong to this category. Fourth group, regardless income status, always oversupply, sugar belongs this category. We can make use of these findings to consider medium to longer term strategy to ensure balanced diet. Now, I will share with you about similar assessment, focusing on each country participating in this training. To assess dietary balance based on FDBG, we used Healthy Diet Basket, which was applied by FAO, and used to calculate cost of healthy diet in FAOstat. This common healthy diet basket is developed by comparing and analyzing FDBG around the world. It shows recommended balance among 6 food groups, namely, starchy staples, vegetable, fruits, legumes, animal source foods, and oils and fats based on calories supplied from each food group. Comparison of 6 countries from Africa. This is based on reference Healthy Food Basket in previous slides. It compares recommended value and actual supply of each food group. The y-axis indicates sufficiency or deficiency of each food group, compared with recommended rate. Graph for individual country will be shown in the following slides. Case of Botswana. Case of Ethiopia. Case of Kenya. Case of Nigeria. Case of Mozambique. Case of Uganda. Observation at local level. Up to now, we have observed dietary gap based on national agriculture statistics. This is simple and easy to analyze. However, this is just an estimate from statistics, and does not necessarily give us real picture of local diet. In the following slide, I share the result of quick dietary survey conducted in Mozambique. We conducted small survey in Nyasa province, Mozambique. We conducted quick 24-hour dietary recall survey, for around 20 households. Most of households showed quite similar result, in terms of food group consumption, so, this is just extraction of 4 household. As you can see, there are 2 type of food group, which all household do not consume. First group is, animal source food, second group is, vitamin A-rich fruits and vegetables. Then we asked follow-up question, why you don't consume specific food group, and what is your ideal diet? Answer is summarized in the following slide. This is a summary of follow-up question. There is no challenge in consumption of staple and legume. In case of non-consumption of fruits and vegetable, the reason was seasonal unavailability. People respond that they do not eat specific fruit and vegetable, simply because it was off-season. I also noticed that they do not care about non-consumption of fruits and vegetables. In answering the question, What is your best diet? No one included fruits and vegetables. Everyone picked up some of animal source food. In case of animal source food, the reason of non-consumption is very clear: high price. In case of dairy product, non-availability due to lack of cold chain. From this case of Madagascar, we can learn typical dietary gap, and typical challenge to overcome non-consumption. Typical gap is consumption of fruits, vegetable, and animal source food. Typical challenge is seasonality, awareness, and cost. In the previous section, we observed that there are several common barriers existing to change dietary habit. These include seasonality, affordability, market creation, awareness, and technology. In this section, we briefly look at what have been done in Japan when we faced similar challenges. These are 3 typical answers for not having healthy diet we observe in many rural African countries: affordability, availability, and awareness. In the right column, I listed practice conducted in Japan to overcome these situations. I don't explain one by one. Each of these actions you will learn throughout this training course, especially from field visit. Those include actions like kitchen garden, make use of underutilized food resources, updating farming, processing and storing technologies, and various approach to update mindset of rural population. This is typical approach, implemented through livelihood improvement approach. You will learn listed tool and approach in this course. You can learn experiences from the local practitioners through field visit. Overall objective of the series of process is to nurture thinking farmer. To achieve this process, activities and community will go through project cycle shown in the table, starting from realization of the issue in the community, followed by identification of challenge and opportunity surrounding the issue. This will be followed by simple action which member can implement without external support. Then, activities are monitored and reviewed for next simple action. This cycle will be repeatedly implemented to foster thinking farmer. Up to here, we have learned about healthy diet, current status and challenges to achieve it. IFNA, Initiative for Food and Nutrition Security in Africa, is developing smartphone-based handy tool to support achievement of healthy diet. Now I am going to briefly explain it. In IFNA, through nutrient-focused approach, we are trying to provide support promotion of healthy diet, using smartphone-based application. The application is used to conduct quick assessment of local dietary gap, compared with DRI and FTBG. Based on this dietary gap, application will recommend a locally available commodity to be promoted in target area. Based on this recommendation, agriculture officer can support local farming household for improving access of nutrition-dense food. They also need to collaborate with health expert to improve awareness on balanced diet and preparation, consumption of selected food item. In this slide, common scenery we observe in many rural African community is presented. Community health worker have well-established teaching material to guide local people for better diet. However, due to lack of access to nutrient-dense food, which is key to fill the dietary gap, dietary shift does not easily occur. This failure mainly comes from the fact that regular agriculture program is not fully integrating nutrition-sensitive agriculture. Nutrient-focused approach, NFA, is an approach to identify nutrient deficiency and design the context-specific dietary diversification solutions to tackle the nutrition issues that are identified. This can be used as a tool to guide specific roles of the agricultural sector in the nutrition issues. Application helps to identify key commodity to be promoted in target area, based on the result of dietary gap assessment. For more detailed explanation, you can follow YouTube link in the slide.